So it doesn't make sense to say everybody can be right. Everybody can't be right. That's logically impossible. It'd be like 5 eyewitnesses who saw the same crime, but they all got a different story. They can't all be right at the same time. So it's really truth itself being not relative, being completely objective and absolute.
Well, what about like a Buddhist
Mm-hmm.
who's like, or someone who just doesn't...
A nice person.
Yes,
Yeah.
who just loves humanity and who's just a good person all their life.
They still have, well, it'd be what your standard of good is. It's also universal absolute law of morality. Where does absolute right and wrong come from without an absolute source?
Well,
If there is no real wrong and there is no real right, then it's subject to opinion constantly. It doesn't matter whether you could think rape is wrong, if someone else thinks it's right,
Then they're
you
right.
better commit that because
Yeah.
you're telling them a standard that really isn't there. You understand? But we don't live our lives that way. We know absolute right and wrong. We know it. And the reason that we know it is because we know God exists. There's no other way to, it's the impossibility of the contrary, because without a real standard, there's no way to say, well, I know for sure that is wrong. How do you know that? If someone else could contradict it and say, well, I don't, I think it's perfectly fine. Well, who would be right? You or them. Without that absolute standard of morality in our hearts and our minds, we can never make that discernment. So it's the fact that we do those things, and those things expose our pre-commitment to God. That's the evidence.
what if somebody else has a different God?
They're wrong.
It would still be what's the standard there? How do they? It could be just as arbitrary as saying I think that BMW is God, or
But
I think that the tree is God. And
how do you know
Hindus
that your
have
God
millions
is
of
right?
gods.
Yeah, but how do you know your God is right?
how do we know that the God that we believe in is
Yeah.
correct? Well, because of the person of Jesus Christ, number one.
But what
He was
if
a
Hindu
real
says
human
they're-
being who fulfilled hundreds of prophecies that were written way before he ever came to this planet. And yet, you and I you can't even ask me what time it is without his existence. You know what I'm saying? So he is the truth. And now he made himself to be uniquely different than everything else. He said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, and no man comes to the Father but by me. He made himself completely exclusive. Either he was lying or he was telling the truth. But it's not both. You know?
Don't be mean to anybody, but
Why would we be mean?
Yeah,
to
why would
anybody?
we be mean? We love people enough to tell
Are
them
you
the truth.
assuming that we're mean to people because we're
well,
Christians?
your shirt is kind of...
What's mean about
What's
it?
mean about it?
It's biblical truth.
No, well, give your
Think of this.
reasoning about why you would think it was
Because
mean.
it's against...
Homosexuals? Okay,
What
now
do you
think
mean?
of this.
How?
Now, if God is true, and
There's
he
nothing great
explained
about homosexuality.
on the
right?
back, I got LGBT letting go of all biblical truth.
Oh, okay.
Now, if we now have the standard of truth with it, which is God, okay, and what He says is the truth, right? And He's given commandments to men to keep, and any violation of those laws brings about judgment, okay? Now, if we believe that the LGBT community is under God's judgment, how unloving would it be for us not to tell them? If we believe that they're going to be eternally judged guilty, all right, and that judgment is going to be given to them on the day that they perish, wouldn't we, before they perish, if we were loving them, wouldn't we, before they perish, warn them and tell them of the escape that God gave, which was His Son Jesus Christ, that all who would repent and believe the gospel could escape that judgment, and not only that, give them the power to no longer live in sin.
I guess according to your worldview,
Right.
that is correct.
Right.
My worldview is different.
What is your worldview?
I just love people.
Well,
So do we.
That's not an actual worldview. Like, what is your actual worldview? Like, how do you know what love is?
I just...
Can love be abstract or is it tangible?
I guess it's abstract.
Is
I
it
don't know.
absolute? So then love could be, if it's abstract, then it could be whatever everyone wants to make up. A rapist could say, that's love. How would you refute him? By saying, no, that's not love because...
Physically harming somebody.
But how do you know that's wrong?
Because I think that there's just a moral code that we live by.
Where does it come
Which
from?
is governed by what?
I mean, I guess historically it came from religion. It doesn't have to anymore.
Well, no, I'd say it surpasses that. I'd say regardless of religion, I'm not here to posit religion. I'm not in favor of religion. I'm in favor of knowing our Maker,
Amen.
the Creator, the truth. So I would say that since mankind, way before people were bowing down before statues or whatever, the moral law of God has always been, and that's how we govern ourselves. So without that governor, we would just be, I mean, people can say we came from monkeys, that doesn't mean that we're animals. But people act like animals doesn't mean that they are. Without that moral law, we wouldn't have laws.
I guess my worldview
We wouldn't have
is
stop
science.
signs. What are stop signs? Stop signs are there to protect. They're part of a law that's there to protect society.
Did you say your worldview was science?
Gives us morality.
Can you explain that?
Like scientific principles.
Evolution?
Yes.
Not scientifically proven. It has to be
Correct.
observable.
Well,
has to be able to be reproduced, right?
Correct. It would
So-
have to be tested, observed, and reproduced in the natural world, which there hasn't been one piece of that to be done.
So you believe that
As
by
far-
faith?
Evolution itself is a religion.
Yeah.
I think that's mine.
It's based on assumption.
I guess that's mine. Then
So
that's
you-
where my faith is.
Okay, so then
But like I
So you
said,
are religious
I love
then?
people.
you are religious.
Well, think of this, okay?
So I don't hate you.
Thank
That's
you.
great. You shouldn't hate anybody. We don't hate anybody. As a matter of fact, we're here because we love everybody.
But think of this, okay?
Me
You
too.
there's you rather
Watch out for that.
either evolution or creation is true, right? Now, if you believe evolution, you're not accountable to. You believe yourself not to be accountable to a God, so you don't have to turn from your sin, right?
Correct.
But if you believe in creationism, you know there's a God and He has a standard, and He's already given that standard, the thou shalt not.
But you yourself admitted that you don't live your life that way. You said there's a moral code, but yet evolution can't provide a moral code.
Yeah, I guess, but I guess
'Cause now we're talking about
rely
purpose.
I guess I rely on people coming together and passing laws and things.
You guess? What do you know?
Get it when we're pregnant.
Like you say.
I know. That's
Okay,
that's what I believe.
great. Now, how do you know that?
People organizing themselves to
So-
create their moral codes.
So
through
then
the legal
Hitler and the Nazis would have been correct since they had the majority at the time?
They created their moral code.
Right.
Well, I do not agree with that for sure.
Why not?
Because it's physically harming other people.
And it's certainly
Right, but
fallible,
they
right?
had their own
And
society
mentally-
saying, but this was okay. So according to that standard that you just gave, they would be right.
But we came together to say they're
No,
wrong.
we went and stopped them.
But I think people came together to say they're
Sure,
wrong.
but how do you know that we were right? That's what I'm saying.
Because I mean, I'm not saying.
Like, how do you know what absolutely with certainty? Like, what would be your degree of certainty to know? Yes, for certain, I know they were right because, like, where would the foundation of justification be for that moral standard? To know that something's absolutely right or
I
wrong.
think
See, if a Christian's asked that same question, he's going to respond, "Thou shalt not kill." The
Right.
Lord has already
That's
said.
the
So he has the moral standard.
I'm not denying all Christian, like the value of Christianity in the world, because I think that, you know, taking pieces of moral code from Christianity, from this place, from that place, I see it more as like human progression.
Well, see, but then again, you're relying on a human's ability to exercise right or wrong apart
Correct.
from God.
What gives us, like, okay, as an example, where do you get the concept of a non-material concept such as a conscience from an
I
explosion?
think from the neurons in your brain that
Well, here's the problem.
fire the.
The synapses in the neurons, but here's the
Yeah.
problem. Here's the problem. When do those synapses arrive at an absolute reality?
I think when you like your brain develops, like when you're 4 or 5.
But if they're
or
just
whatever
constantly
that age is.
synapsing
you
and
doing?
firing, when would they arrive at a constant,
I'll give you that.
a constant
Ready.
law? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll give you an example. You shake up 2 cans of soda, right? You get this reaction. So if our thoughts are the byproduct of our evolved brains, then the reaction would, our thoughts, our imagination would only be reactions of that process. So when would they arrive at truth? When does it arrive at concrete, absolute, certain reality? It can't. It's a rhetorical question.
It does whenever.
Well, you think it does,
your
but you know
brain
it.
is developing as a child.
But you're
And then
talking
you
about
think that-
you're talking about learning. I'm talking about how do you know what's real?
Listen, I just don't believe.
Right.
And
well,
what
that's
I'm
the
gonna
issue.
say is that
You don't believe, but you
just
do. I'm saying you do believe.
go out there and don't be mean to anybody today.
You know. Well,
You see-
if you were to walk out there right now and not tell anyone the truth, that would be mean. What's your standard of being mean?
Yeah.
No.
You don't have a
We're all in the
standard. See?
Matrix.
What's that?
We're all in the Matrix. That's
Right. Well, according to atheism, that's right.
We're all in the Matrix.
See, you bring up a great point. He brings up a great point. You want to know what? He's right. If there's no purpose and no design to life, then nothing you see
Nothing
has the
matters,
potential
yeah.
of being real to any degree at all. You can't, like, you're thinking words to utter right now to speak and to respond to what I'm saying, but those words only have the possibility of meaning the same thing they did if we have absolute laws. See, evolution.
I think there's nothing absolute about the
What
world.
is that
This
true? Is that true?
Is that absolutely
Is
true?
that absolutely true?
I don't know.
You don't know, right? That's what
I mean,
I'm saying.
I just think that,
without
like,
God, you can't know anything.
Things just happened. They came together, and here
You don't
we
know,
are.
right? You don't know that. See,
Here we are.
that's faith. I don't have enough faith to believe that. I don't have enough faith to believe that. That's a fairy tale. That's like saying that
But I
that
don't
this
have
young
enough
man's
faith.
car here was his here because somewhere along the line someone put a Pepsi can in a microwave and it blew up, and now you have this machine with parts and systems.
It reveals a creator.
Right?
Because science was developed.
No, it
How do you have
revealed-
science without God.
It revealed a creator.
Where do
Someone
you get
created
uniformity
it.
of nature? Where do you get complexity? Where do you get intelligibility from
It
nothing?
is. I mean, nature
You
is
don't.
amazing.
It's an
We are
encoding
our own
possibility. Here's
You
the
created
problem.
yourself?
Here's the problem. I'll leave you with
How?
this.
Not
okay?
materially.
If I was to
How?
go to war with another nation,
It's
okay? When does that?
read
And I'm the
John
only one
Paul
with the
Sartre.
ammunition.
What is it?
John Paul
When does that
Sartre, he
war
was a French
begin?
philosopher. He explains it very
I was warned in the Bible, stay away from
Okay.
vain
I don't
philosophies
know.
of men.
For John
Right.
Paul
Unless
Sartre
I
explains
give
it
them
very
ammunition.
Yeah.
So I'm
You'd
not
rather
giving
read
non-believer science
You'd rather believe a
and-
book by Jean Paul
logic
Sartre than a book that God gave you to command your
It
life.
was written 5,000 years ago by man.
But you believe a book written by man. You base your life on a book written by
I don't
man.
base my life on it. I just think
You're
it's an
talking about
interesting
science. You can't account for it. You're talking
You
about
put more validity in a book written by a man, and then you say, I reject this one because it's written by
I
man.
just,
Oh,
I
come
can't
on.
grab
But you're
a
saying
lot
there's
of
no
things.
absolutes, but yet everything you say depends on certainty.
You do you.
I don't know. Yeah.
Just
Right.
I'm going to
You
change
guys
in my
do
car,
you.
so
You
you
don't
might
know.
wanna step
Without God,
away.
you don't
What's
know
that?
anything.
I'm going to change in my car, so you might want to step away.
Alrighty.
What's your standard of being mean?
You see maybe a gay person or a lesbian walk past you, and you
Okay.
start to terrorize them.
What's terrorizing that
Well,
mean?
you're yelling at them.
Yelling?
Don't do that.
Why would we, why do you assume that we yell at them?
Because you're wearing a shirt that says it's against it.
Okay.
Because you're
So
against
why
something?
Yeah, you have microphones. Your
Right.
voice is going
We're
to
gonna
be
preach.
louder.
But why aren't they tolerant of my views?
Yeah.
No, see, I stopped. I said I didn't want to be combative, and
You're
I
not
so far
combative.
have
No, you're
not
not.
been. Yeah, and so
But I'm saying that lesbians are wrong.
I'm saying that.
So do I have
they're
my
right.
is my opinion valued like theirs is?